Hey everyone, my name is Josh and welcome back to your fourth stimulus package and news update. In today's update, we have a lot of news to get into, but first, if you would like to receive 5 free stocks from Webull valued up to $2,300, make sure to claim them by clicking my link, which you will find in the description box below. Okay, so Senate Democrats held a private virtual meeting last night where they discussed their legislative strategy over the next few months, mostly over the pieces of legislation dealing with voting rights and, of course, Build Back Better. In the meeting, the Majority Leader Chuck Schumer reiterated that they will hold a vote on Build Back Better at some point early next year, and they won't stop working on it until they pass some version of it. Schumer also said they would take up voting rights legislation at some point in January as well, and that they'll consider an alternative to passing it if they don't get the 60 votes they need. That alternative would be to get rid of the filibuster, something both Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are opposed to doing. Now, Manchin did, in fact, dial into the meeting, something most people weren't sure he would do. He also addressed his colleagues and he told him why he was opposed to Build Back Better. Like in his Fox News interview on Sunday, he spoke about his concerns on inflation and also the national debt. At this time, Manchin said he could not support any new or expanded programs that would add to the federal debt. So most likely what's going to end up happening now is that Senator Schumer and the rest of the Democrats are now going to have to remove some or many of the measures currently in the bill to ensure that Joe Manchin gets back on board with it. Either that, or they risk not passing anything at all. Yesterday, President Biden also said that him and Senator Manchin will eventually work something out, so we'll just have to wait and see if that prediction comes true. With the inflation report for December set to be released on January 12th, that'll be something that we'll all need to pay real close attention to, because if it comes in as high as the November report, Manchin may be completely opposed to making any type of deal. Again, let's wait and see. Also, interesting enough, yesterday, one of the top Republican senators, John Cornyn, reportedly texted Joe Manchin encouraging him to join the Republican Party. Considering the Democrats have really beaten Manchin up in recent months, that might cause him to change parties. Mitch McConnell also said in a recent interview that Republicans would love to have Senator Joe Manchin to join their ranks, and that he'd also be more comfortable in the GOP. And since the Senate is currently split at 50-50, Manchin joining the Republican Party would give Republicans back the majority in the Senate and allow Mitch McConnell to once again be the majority leader. When Manchin has been asked if he would consider joining the Republican Party in recent months, though, his answer has always been a no. At this point, Manchin has no desire to switch parties, and in his mind, wouldn't really make too much sense. Of course, back in October, Manchin also told reporters that if Democrats considered him an embarrassment to their party, he would consider switching to be an independent.
Anything that was ever said, that we've ever talked about, if I'm an embarrassment to my Democrat colleagues, my caucus, the president being the Democrat, the leader of the Democrat Party, Chuck Schumer and all them, and I said, me being a moderate centrist Democrat, if that causes you a problem, let me know, and I'd switch to be an independent, but I'd still be caucusing with Democrats.
At President Joe Biden's press conference last night, he was asked by reporters about Manchin not supporting Build Back Better.
Mr. President,
You talk often about the importance of keeping your word of trust. Do you believe Senator Manchin kept his word to you? And how do you rebuild trust with progressives in your party to advance your legislation now?
You know, I told you before, you've heard me say this before, some people think maybe I'm not Irish because I don't hold a grudge. Look, I want to get things done. I still think there's a possibility of getting Build Back Better done. And what I don't want to do is get into, and Joe went on TV today, and I don't know whether it's TV or not, I'm told he was speaking to the Liberal caucus in the House and said, Joe Biden didn't mislead you, I misled you. And so look, I'm not looking for, let me say something. You saw what happened yesterday. All the talk about how my Build Back Better plan was going to increase inflation, going to cause these debts and all the like. What happened? Goldman Sachs and others said, if we don't pass Build Back Better, we're in trouble because it's going to grow the economy. And without it, we're not going to grow. And what happened? Stock prices went way down. It took a real dip. If you take a look, everybody thinks because I quoted 17 Nobel laureates saying this is going to help inflation. Think about it in terms of you're a hard-working person and you're making 60 grand if you're alone, or if you're a mom or just on her own, or if you're making 80 grand, mom and dad 90 grand like a lot of people do, and you're worried about inflation, you should be worried about it because it's a devastating thing for people who are working class and middle class folks. It really hurts. Where is most of the cost now? The cost is finding in gasoline, even though I was able to bring it down 12 cents a gallon, will come down more, I believe. We talked about what the cost in food prices going up, et cetera. But look what's in Build Back Better. Childcare. You can reduce it by up to 70%. That'll be the difference between 20 million women who aren't back in the workforce being able to go back if you pass it. We're talking about health care, insulin. In a situation, we got 200,000 kids with type 1 diabetes. You know what it's costing? It cost somewhere between 10 cents and $10 to come up with the formula, okay, a while ago, right? You know what it's costing on average? $640 a month, up to $1,000 a month. What do you do if you're a mom and a dad working with minimum wage, busting your neck? You look at your kid, and you know if you don't get that vaccine for him, if you don't get that drug for him, if you don't get be able to take that, what happens? They're likely to go in a coma, maybe die. Not only do you put the kid's life at stake, you strip away all the dignity of a parent looking at their child. I'm not joking about this. Imagine being a parent, looking at a child, and you can't afford. You have no house to borrow against. You have no savings. It's wrong. But all the things in that bill are going to reduce prices and cost for middle class and working class people. It's going to reduce their costs. What's inflation? Having to pay more than the money you have because things have gone up. Well, bring down all those costs across the board, from child care to a child care tax credit. But I'm not supposed to be having this press conference right now.
Mr. President, did Senator Manchin break his commitment to you? When you announced the framework, the White House says that all 50 senators were believed to get behind it, all 50 Democratic senators. So did Senator Manchin break his commitment to you?
Senator Manchin and I are going to get something done. Thank you.
In some other news, with the extension of the child tax credit in jeopardy with Build Back Better pretty much being killed off by Joe Manchin, Republican Senator Mitt Romney reportedly wants to take a bipartisan approach to extending it. This is a solution that could work since other Republican senators such as Josh Hawley have proposed child tax credit programs where single parents would receive a $6,000 credit and married parents would receive a $12,000 credit. Here is the White House press secretary being asked about this alternative way of extending the credit.
As the White House tries to look at a path forward here, on the child tax credit, it seems inevitable at this point, unlikely at least, that millions of Americans who benefited from that child tax credit, from that monthly payment, will not get that in the month of January. What is the White House's message to them? And Senator Romney has put forward a proposal that he says would be a bipartisan pathway forward. Is that something the White House is looking into?
Well, most importantly, the president's message is that his preference was to get Build Back Better passed in December so that people could have the child tax credit extended, a benefit that has contributed to cutting child poverty in half this year and has helped put money in people's pockets and food on the table and make sure many, many families could help make ends meet during an economic downturn that was tied to the pandemic. And I would say on the second piece of your question, we're going to work with anybody who's interested in taking steps to lower costs for the American people, whether it's on child care or elder care or health care. We want to get Build Back Better done because the comprehensive package is going to have an enormous impact, according to dozens of economists across the board. It would require 60 votes in order to get individual pieces passed.
In some other news, with the freeze on student loan payments coming to an end next month, the White House was also asked if President Biden would consider extending that deadline. At this time, it's something they had not really considered. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren is one of the many Democrats calling for an extension of this deadline, saying in a tweet, "Restarting student loan debt payments would take more than $85 billion out of our economy next year. We're still in a pandemic and people are still struggling. President Biden shouldn't restart payments and should use his authority to #cancel student debt. Of course, many progressive Democrats are encouraging the president to do a lot more than just freeze the student loan payments and instead believe that he should cancel student loan debt altogether. Being that he would more than likely not have the executive authority to do so, this would be something that they would need to do in a bipartisan manner. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you did make it all the way to the end, I definitely appreciate all of your support. And if you did enjoy the content in today's video, I would also really appreciate if you would give this video a like, a big thumbs up. That does just definitely help out with the YouTube algorithm. And until next time, as always, I'll see you in the next video.